Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Flex and Reflect Sunday Sit Down, answering the weekly questions from clients and people around the world. I'm going to answer the two hanging over from last week, and then I'll jump into this week's. There's a lot of questions this week, so I'm not going to be able to get through them all. On that note, my cat wants to come in. Hang on, I'll be back. He's happy now. All right. So, first question was, if you were tasked with creating a training program for a superhero, what would it look like? Which real world exercise and techniques would you incorporate to match their fictional abilities? All right. Well, what I would say to this is it's a little bit like the sporting analogy. So depending on, like, I've got over time I've had different athletes come to me from different types of sports, from running to climbing to basketball, AFL, soccer, cricket, beach volleyball, volleyball. I'm sure there's some other ones in there as well, like floorball, hockey. Sure there's something else in there as well. Cheerleading, all those types of things. And I'm not an expert in any of those particular sports, but what I focus on is what are the key muscle groups in those sports that are used. So, for instance, like say volleyball, for instance, so leaping, jumping is obviously a good one. Having some upper body strength is also good as well. And so then we focus on making the person stronger. And so going back to the superhero question, same thing. My goal is to make the person stronger, having a look at their weaknesses. Sometimes it's talking to their coaches and finding out what are the strengths of that particular athlete, what are their weaknesses, what do they think from a coaching perspective that they need to work on? Because what we want to do is we want to strengthen the strengths, and we also want to strengthen the weaknesses, or weaken the weaknesses, depending on which way you want to look at it. Turning a weakness into a strength. That's super, super important to make the athlete, the superhero, if you like, stronger. I've got no conversation for somebody in terms of the skills and improving their skills. That's for them to work on with their coach and their practice and all that kind of stuff. But what I can do is I can make every athlete stronger. I can turn their weaknesses into strengths and make them just even better than they are right now. So yeah, that's what it comes to. So it would depend on the superhero, depend on their strengths, depend on their weaknesses, and we would build the program around that. Uh, Having said that, I use pretty much the same types of exercises with every single athlete, and that is focusing on barbell movements, focusing on dumbbell movements as well. Some machines, but normally I prefer the freer weights. And again, depending on the sports, would depend on whether there's more plyometric work, so more explosive type movements, or versus slower movements. So it's really a combination of all of those things. So interesting question. Okay, can you describe a mindful eating practice that people might not be familiar with, and explain how it can improve their relationship with food and overall nutrition? Well, I guess there is one of the probably the simple things is certainly in our culture here in Australia, and I'm sure it exists around the world as well, is that we want to eat until we feel really full, and you're not satisfied unless you are really, really full. And of course, the problem with that is I can remember as a kid and thinking about Christmas dinner, and you're like, yeah, you wouldn't have breakfast and be looking forward to your Christmas dinner, and you'd eat so much, and then we'd have the plum pudding and all that kind of stuff. And then, a few hours later, you're sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, the tummy aches, and it's like, oh, that feels so uncomfortable and whatever. And then of course it passes over the next few hours, and you don't feel like eating anything in the afternoon. You feel like having either nothing or a very small dinner. And so it's not ideal. But some people feel that they're not satisfied unless they're super, super full. So what we want to realize is that when we're eating, there's a time delay by the time that you swallow the food and the food gets into your tummy, and that mind connection with have I had enough versus what the brain is saying, no, I need more, I need more, I need more. And there's like this 10, 15, 20-minute delay from the time that you finish a meal, for instance, to when you're going to feel like, yeah, that's adequate. So I think this is something that like any good empowering habit, you need to train yourself over time so that if you can eat more slowly, for instance. I know that we're all so busy and on the run. It's like, oh, I've got to, eat this food quickly to get onto that next task and stuff. And that's a challenge for me as well. Like I'll have a small window of time to eat, say, my dinner before my clients coming in the evening, or it's a lunchtime. I have a little bit more flexibility. I think if you can slow that whole process down, the chewing, enjoying the flavors, all that kind of stuff, just taking an extra 5-7 minutes longer to consume your meal and enjoy your meal and allow your tummy to catch up with your mind, you'll feel much more satisfied. Enjoy the conversation that's happening around you, and you'll find that it can be very different. So I think that would be one that is super important for a lot of us. We eat on the run, we eat quickly, we eat fast. That's the same as quickly, but you eat fast food, and that can be a real challenge for us in battling that overeating. Then let's say you do that for dinner, and then you feel like, oh, I'll go back for more, and then like an hour or two later, then you're still feeling like you're having more, and that's normally a sign of what you haven't done quite right earlier in the day. So it really does catch up with you. So I think if you slow the process down. The other thing I would say is it's not really mindfulness, but I suppose mindfulness in terms of what it is that you are consuming. If you have focus on getting more protein in and more plant food into your plate, you'll find that you'll be more satisfied. And then just allow yourself a little bit of time to digest the food and just wait. And if you still feel hungry, just wait. Have some water and go for a little walk or something like that to distract yourself, and just allow your mind to catch up. All right, so now I'm going to jump into a few questions from this week, and I've got about 16 questions, so I'm not going to get through all of them, but I'll start at the top. What is the most unconventional? People just want to know what's weird stuff. What's the most unconventional method you use to stay motivated on days when you feel less driven? Well, not unconventional, but I'll walk you through the process that I have. If I feel unmotivated on a particular day to do a workout, so it's Sunday morning here in Australia, I have done my strength workout. I feel really good. I've fueled myself well, and now I'm doing this. And I'll go for a walk after this. I trained legs this morning, a little bit heavier than I normally would, so I'm sort of ramping things back up again. And if I stay pretty mobile right now, pretty sedentary right now, I'll find that the legs will tighten up, and I perhaps won't feel like doing it later in the day. So I'll do it shortly. So when I feel unmotivated, what I'll do is I'll just do some reverse engineering and say, well, okay, what do I think has led up to this moment? Is it because I haven't had enough sleep? Is there something going on, like super stressed or something like that? So if I use the example of about 3 weeks ago, I was doing some filming for 60 Minutes, which that story is on tonight, actually, if you want to watch that. And I was like really overthinking, I suppose, but I'll say overthinking, but I wanted to be really prepared and make sure that, I'm presenting myself the best way in terms of what I'm talking about and all that kind of stuff. And then it comes down to however they've edited it. Fortunately, I haven't seen it. I've seen a commercial for it, but I haven't seen my piece yet. And in those moments, I guess I'm feeling more anxious about being prepared. I had to get clients prepared. I have to, and there's so many different moving parts in something like that. It was a day and a half of filming. and it made it really, really challenging. So in those moments, that like it's a heightened level of stress. So was I going to do a great strength workout on that particular day? So no, what I did was I didn't do strength training that day when I was scheduled to do it, and I moved it to the next day once it was all done, and there's that sort of that sense of relief that, well, everything that you were thinking about is now all done, so don't worry about it, and do it on that particular day. So Whiskers, he now wants to go out again. So there's that aspect. In terms of what else I might do is like this morning, for instance, sometimes it's music that will do it for me. And I'll say, okay, let's put on something that's going to be a little bit more upbeat, that's going to help me feel good. And, those particular songs that make you feel good when you're doing the hardest part of your workout. I have Apple, oh, well, I've got an Apple TV box I've got an old TV, it's not a smart TV. And so I put something on there. So this morning I was watching the Patriot Dynasty. And, that's really interesting to hear about, Tom Brady, the Robert Kraft and the Belichick and everything, and how everything worked in getting them the 6 championships and stuff. And I find that is interesting, and it's inspiring. So that keeps me going as well. Sometimes it's a movie. Sometimes I might put on something like Commando with Arnold in it, and that does it for me as well. So maybe there's some more unconventional ways that I would do. But first thing I do is I look at, okay, do I actually need a break, or I just need to push through right now and find those things that are going to help me do that. All right, next one. This one around your sort of mindset as well. How do you incorporate gratitude into your daily routine, and what impact does it have on your mindset? So, good question. I mean, the concept of gratitude, I suppose, I learned from like doing some work with Tony Robbins and Tony Robbins coaches and so forth. And I think it is an aspect that had really changed my mindset to think about. We can always think about what we don't have in our life, and how hard things are, and focusing on that next thing, et cetera, et cetera. I think when you do take some time out and take stock of being grateful for what you do have in your life and what you do have within you as a person, not just the material things, because the material things only go so far, then it can really make you think differently about life and how lucky we really are. And I would say that, I don't know, it was something for me that's probably been a journey over sort of a 3-year period of time, where I was doing work with Tony Robbins coaches, every single day, and doing some mindfulness work and going out for walks. And every day I'd be thinking about what are, 3 things that I could be grateful for today, first thing in the morning, setting me up for success and that kind of stuff. It's not something that I do now. From time to time I'll do it, but I was in this process of doing these things every single day. I feel like I have a very great life in how I feel about things, and I could be angry and upset about many things that have happened in my life, but like, where does that take you? It's just sort of empty energy. And if you stay focused on the positive things and what you can be grateful for, then it absolutely has this inner energy positivity effect on you, and filling you up with love, filling you up with things that money can't buy. And so in many ways it's priceless, because it just, I don't know what the words are. Sometimes I'm not great with finding the words, but it just makes you feel better on a day-to-day basis. I mean, we know that mental health is a major issue around the world, with people across cultures and borders. And I think if you can start to reflect on being happy with what you do have, as opposed to being unhappy and angry, mad, frustrated about what you don't have, then you can start to build success. Because when you're in this toxic mind space, nothing grows, nothing just accidentally changes. You've got to make the change. And I think this is it's a part of feeling good about who you are, where you are, what you have in your life, and then allows you to think about what's the future hold as well. So yeah, it's a good question. All right, let me keep going here. I'll go through two more questions. Here we go again. What are some unusual but effective foods or ingredients that have significantly improved your health and performance? And people just ask, what are the foods that make a significant difference? So unusual foods. Well, the things that come to mind for me, firstly, would be foods in the space of omega-3. So I don't know, probably 7 and 10, actually no longer than that, probably 15 years ago. No, be less than that, 12 years ago. I was introduced to the concept of having a look at where you're getting your fats from. So omega-6 versus omega-3. So as a Western culture, we tend to be very high in omega-6 fats. So imagine the fats that are just coming from, say, fast foods and that kind of stuff, as opposed to omega-3 fats, which are your good fats coming from nuts, seeds, things like your fish oil, fish products, etc., etc. And I was introduced to the concept of flax. So flax seed, flax meal, flaxseed oil. Now, nutritionally, the better one there for you is flax meal because of just the way that it helps you with so the way it's digested into your system. But that's a really convenient way to get some extra omega-3 into your diet. It's very, very rich. And the other concept was introducing omega-3 with every single meal that I have. So I have generally 5 to 6 meals a day, and I will introduce that into every single meal to help boost my omega-3. And what that does is obviously it helps with your brain function, helps with your immune system and just overall health and that kind of stuff. And so that's been a really good one for me. Another one that was introduced by my strength and conditioning coach was quinoa. And he says, so quinoa it's like a little grain and stuff, and you cook it up kind of like rice. And it's so it's a high energy carbohydrate. So I would use it as a substitute for rice or potato or things like that. And he was telling me that for older men, it seems to digest better and work better for us. And certainly when I have it compared to, I used to just eat rice, for instance. Now I tend to have more like sweet potato for a high energy carb and stuff. And from time to time, I'll have quinoa. But that's another good one that, yeah, it feels different. It doesn't, I think some of these foods can bloat you. That doesn't bloat me. So that'd probably be the most unique ones that I would have introduced into my eating. Again, this one is about food. How do you tailor nutritional plans for clients with unique dietary restrictions or cultural food preferences? So again, it's a little bit like the training I look at. What are the foods that people enjoy, and then what if they do have any intolerances, whether it's be gluten-free. Gluten-free is probably the most popular. Then there is things like lactose intolerance, and then you've got your vegetarian, vegan type. They're not intolerances, but like preferences, and sometimes that's a cultural preference. Otherwise, it's just an individual preference. And then within that, it's looking at, so what are the foods that you really like? What don't you like? And then I build it around that. Now, for some of my Indian clients, for instance, they will have, so traditionally the Indian diet is particularly not healthy, and they'll all admit that, using high saturated fat products like coconut milk and ghee and things like that tend to be high in fats, high energy carbohydrates with like potato, rice, roti, all that kind of stuff. And so what I then do is say, well, give me your favorite recipe and let's work together to make some changes to those, say, traditional family recipes so that we can make it a little bit healthier. Let's take out the ghee and let's put in, something else instead. Let's make sure that you're using a clean protein, like whether it's be chicken or beef or, whatever it is that you're using. And actually, it should normally not beef. It just depends. My Indian clients can be a little bit different. Some are vegetarian, some are not. And then having a look at the high energy carbs in there as well. And it's like, well, it's not like you can never have roti again, but it's about the portion control. And then just, you can take a meal that might be 800 calories and you can take it down to 400 calories by changing some of those ingredients and changing some of the serving sizes, and so that they still enjoy it. And then, look, honestly, one of the challenges with some of my Indian clients is getting them to eat more, I'll just say stir fry type vegetables, that just to give you a mix. So a combination of a mix of different types of vegetables to just get some more natural plant-based food into their diet, and not overcooking them and cooking all the nutrients out of them and that kind of stuff. So it's very much an individually tailored process to go through, because every single person is different. And the key is to come up with a plan that somebody is going to love, not just get them a result, because it's easy to get somebody a result with a plan, but if they're not going to enjoy the food on it, then it's not going to last very long. So we want to make sure that they don't just like it, but they love the food. And that's sort of the process that I go through there. So if yeah, I'm going to leave the rest of the questions for this week. If you do want to get some coaching from me or tailored meal plan from me, there's a few places you can go to. You can go, I'll put the link in the description here, but you can either go to studios, that's studiozpt.com.au, and you can opt in for a free consult there. Or you can go to Mental Toughness and Body Show, which is my main podcast. I have two, and you can opt in for the same free consultation there. And yeah, I'd love to work with you. It doesn't matter where you're based in the world. First consultation's free. All right, stay safe, everybody. Have a great Sunday. See you tomorrow. Well, see you next week.